As the seasons of life pass, many of us begin to notice a shift, not just in the body, but in the spirit. The busy world starts to quiet down. Children grow up and move on. Our careers wind down. And in the stillness that follows, a question arises: what now? This question, though subtle, carries with it the weight of our future peace of mind. In the teachings of the Buddha, old age is neither a curse nor something to fear. But it is a mirror. A mirror that reflects how we have lived and how we continue to live. For those who do not see clearly, old age can become a trap, a web of loneliness, regret, and a sense of being forgotten. But for those who awaken to the truth, it becomes a golden opportunity for liberation, wisdom, and deep spiritual growth. In this video, we will explore the hidden trap of aging and, more importantly, how to escape it. Drawing from timeless Buddhist wisdom, we'll walk gently through 5 key reflections that can transform how we age. Whether you are already entering your later years or simply planning ahead, these teachings can bring clarity, comfort, and a renewed sense of purpose. You will learn how mindfulness, non-attachment, and spiritual insight can help you overcome the suffering that often comes with aging. You'll discover how to remain mentally vibrant, spiritually engaged, and emotionally fulfilled. Most importantly, you'll uncover how to age with grace and inner peace. Let us begin this journey with the first truth the Buddha gently pointed us toward: why old age is a trap, unless you break free. In the Samyutta Nikaya, the Blessed One declared, aging is inevitable. But clinging to what must fade leads to suffering. With this wisdom, we are reminded that old age itself is not suffering, but our resistance to its nature is. Many of us believe the trap of aging lies in a weakening body or the quieting of our place in the world, but the Buddha saw far deeper. The real trap is our grasping. The way we hold tightly to youth, to past roles, to identities long expired. We cling to our careers, our beauty, our usefulness, and even our routines, hoping to outrun impermanence. But like clutching a flower already beginning to wilt, this clinging only deepens sorrow. Old age becomes painful not because of the passing of time, but because of the struggle against it. There is an old Zen story from the mountains of Japan that echoes this truth. A young man, frightened of aging and losing relevance, visited a revered monk who lived in a quiet monastery known for its deep silence and simplicity. The young man asked, "Master, I fear the years will take away all that I am. How can I avoid the trap of growing old?" The monk smiled and gave him a teacup, old, cracked, and chipped. "Drink," he said softly. The young man did so, though confused. The tea was warm and soothing, yet a small drop escaped through a crack and landed on his robe. "Why would you serve me in a broken cup?" he asked, mildly upset. The old monk looked at him and said, "Because the tea is not the cup. You see a crack and believe the vessel is worthless. But the tea still nourishes. So it is with life. If you spend your days grieving the cracks, you will never taste the tea." The young man sat in silence, the lesson slowly seeping in like water into dry earth. This story is not just about a teacup, it is about the body, the ego, the identities we think define us. As age comes upon us, many feel invisible, unnecessary, or lost, whispering silently, "I used to be needed. Now I am only a burden." But these thoughts are not truth, they are echoes of a mind conditioned to measure life by usefulness, to fear stillness, and to dread letting go. The Buddha knew that freedom lay not in preserving the self, but in softening the self. We must train the mind to observe instead of grasp, to receive instead of resist. Old age is not the closing of life's story, it is the chapter where the deepest insight is often written. The world quiets not to punish us, but to give us space to hear what we once missed. As the Blessed One also taught, just as a candle cannot burn without fire, men cannot live without a spiritual life. This spiritual life is not a luxury for the young or the learned, it is the way out of suffering. It is the path that turns the cage of aging into a sanctuary of wisdom. In truth, when we meet old age with mindfulness and compassion, when we stop struggling and begin listening, the trap disappears. We begin to see aging as the season of simplicity, the time when we release the burdens of performance and turn inward to the only truths that endure. The body may slow, but the heart can open, the voice may soften, but the awareness can deepen. Aging then becomes not a fading away, but a ripening. In this way, the final years are not a loss, but a liberation. They are the time to bow gently to life's impermanence, to rest in non-attachment, and to taste fully the peace of now. When we understand this, we are no longer prisoners of the past, we are pilgrims on the path to inner peace. Now that we've gently explored why old age can become a trap unless we awaken to its deeper truth, let us turn to the heart of the matter, the number one reason people fade away, and how to prevent it. In the teachings of the Buddha, fading away is not simply the result of time passing or the body aging. It is the quiet disappearance of one's presence, one's joy, and one's sense of meaning in the world. And the root of this fading is not found in the body, but in forgetfulness. Not the forgetfulness of memory, but the forgetfulness of self-awareness. Many people, as the years go by, begin to live on the surface of life. They move through routines without reflection. They lose touch with the stillness of the present moment. The Buddha taught, the mind that is scattered brings no peace. This scattering is subtle. It begins when we stop attending to the life within us and start clinging to the life that once was. We fade when we stop being curious, when we allow the world to shrink down to a few repeated conversations, when we stop learning, listening, and looking with fresh eyes. And perhaps most importantly, we fade when we allow fear to replace engagement, fear of being irrelevant, fear of being alone, fear of being forgotten. But this fading is not permanent. The path to prevention is gentle, and it begins with mindfulness. To remember the breath is to return to the present. To watch the rising and falling of thoughts without clinging is to step back into our true presence. The Buddha did not say we must be perfect, he said we must be aware. When awareness is restored, even the simplest day becomes sacred. Another way to prevent fading is to cultivate interest in the small things again. A flower blooming on the windowsill, the sound of birds at dawn, the warmth of tea in one's hands, these are not trivial. These are doorways into aliveness. The elderly who stay emotionally and spiritually vibrant often have one common trait: they remain open. Open to wonder. Open to listening. Open to letting go. They do not resist the flow of life, but merge with it like a river joins the sea. The Buddha taught that clinging leads to suffering, but openness leads to peace. When we open to this moment fully, we stop fading and begin shining, even if no one else is watching. To prevent the slow erosion of one's spirit, we must also be willing to release the need to be who we once were. Identity is fluid. Meaning evolves. Peace arises when we give ourselves permission to simply be, without needing a role, a title, or applause. You do not fade when your name is forgotten. You fade when you stop showing up for yourself. So breathe, observe, and begin again. Even now, the light of awareness is waiting for you to return. That is how fading ends. Having understood why old age can feel like a trap and explored the silent fading of spirit that often follows, we now arrive at a deeper and more hopeful reflection: how to keep your mind, body, and spirit alive. This is not about defying age, but about aligning with life. The Buddha taught that health is the greatest gift, contentment the greatest wealth, and mindfulness the path to the deathless. These words remind us that aliveness is not measured in youth or speed, but in presence, engagement, and inner harmony. Many people ask, how can I feel truly alive when my body grows slower and my days feel repetitive? And yet, some individuals show us that the spark of life can be bright at any age. Take for example, the story of Edith Renfro Smith from Iowa, who, at 109 years old, was not only the oldest living graduate of Grinnell College but remained mentally sharp, socially engaged, and full of gentle curiosity about the world. She credited her long life to walking every day, eating simply, speaking kindly, and staying involved with her local community and church. But deeper than any habit was her attitude. She saw aging not as decline, but as a continuation of life's unfolding. She once said, "You just have to be interested in things, and keep learning. That's what keeps you alive." Her spirit wasn't preserved by fear of aging, it was nourished by openness and purpose. In the Buddhist way, this is known as wise effort, choosing thoughts, actions, and companions that support vitality. To keep the mind alive, we must feed it with meaningful reflection and calm observation, not endless distraction. The Buddha did not ask us to fill our days with noise, but to develop clarity through stillness. Even 5 minutes a day of mindful breathing is like watering the roots of a wilting tree. To keep the body alive, movement must not end when youth does. Gentle walking, stretching, gardening, or simply breathing deeply while watching the sky, these are movements of life. The body does not need perfection, it needs presence. Each time we choose to move with kindness toward ourselves, we strengthen the temple that carries our awareness. And to keep the spirit alive, we must not neglect connection, not just with others, but with the sacred rhythm of life. Spiritual life is not limited to meditation cushions or temples. Washing dishes, watching a sunset, writing a letter of thanks, these become sacred acts when done with mindfulness. The spirit thrives not in drama but in quiet appreciation. The Buddha reminded us that attachment is the root of suffering, but non-attachment is not indifference. It is freedom. When we release the obsession with youth, we gain the gift of peace. Keeping the spirit alive means not clinging to the past, but embracing the unfolding mystery of now. It means seeing that your worth is not in your productivity, but in your presence. The mind, body, and spirit are not separate, they are 3 candles of one flame. When you care for one, the others glow. Old age is not the end of life's beauty, it is a refinement of it. But to access that beauty, you must participate in your own awakening. Be gentle with your body, honest with your thoughts, and kind with your heart. You are not here to fade away quietly, you are here to deepen, to ripen, and to return to the still center within you. Let every breath you take be a reminder, you are alive now, and this moment is your path. Now that we have explored how to keep the mind, body, and spirit alive, let us gently enter the 4th reflection in this journey, the power of wisdom, movement, and strong company. These 3 pillars are not merely tools for healthy aging, they are the very lifelines of a meaningful life. In the Dhammapada, the Buddha says, "The fool associates with fools. The wise man delights in the company of the wise." Wisdom is the compass that keeps us from drifting, movement is the breath of life itself, and strong company is the mirror that keeps our heart clear. But to understand this deeply, we must remember a moment from the Buddha's own life, a story that echoes across centuries and still speaks to the soul. When the Buddha was traveling with his disciples, he once came upon a village struck by famine and despair. The people there were hungry, bitter, and disconnected from one another. The disciples asked the Buddha, "How can these people ever find peace when they have so little?" Instead of giving food or preaching, the Buddha asked the villagers to gather daily and share what little they had, not just food, but words, stories, silence, and presence. Slowly, the village changed. People smiled again, began to move with purpose, and their hearts softened. Later, Ananda, his close attendant, said, "Lord, this friendship among them is half of the holy life." But the Buddha replied, "No, Ananda. Not half. Good friendship, good companionship, and good comradeship are the whole of the holy life." This teaching is timeless. In our later years, when many withdraw or are withdrawn from, the absence of meaningful companionship becomes a silent sorrow. But we must not wait for others to reach out, we must move toward them. Movement is not just physical. It is emotional, spiritual, relational. Sitting outside each day to greet the morning sun, taking slow walks even if only for a few minutes, preparing simple food with awareness, these are sacred movements that reawaken the body's wisdom. The body, though aging, still carries the pulse of the earth and responds gratefully to gentle use. But movement alone is not enough. Without wisdom, we move without direction. Wisdom, in the Buddhist path, is born not from accumulating information, but from deep seeing, from knowing the impermanence of life and choosing to live gently anyway. Wisdom reminds us that clinging leads to suffering, but letting go leads to peace. When you move through your day not seeking to prove yourself, but simply to be present, you are walking the path of the wise. And finally, company. Strong company does not mean many people, it means people who lift your heart, mirror your integrity, and share your silence. It may be one friend, a spiritual teacher, a community member, or even a grandchild who asks thoughtful questions. Seek the company of those who are also walking the inner path. And if such company seems far away, begin with nature. Sit with a tree, walk beside water, listen to the wind. These are noble companions, too. The Buddha surrounded himself with a sangha not for popularity, but because awakening is nurtured in shared presence. Old age becomes heavy when walked alone, but becomes light when walked with those who understand the value of simplicity, truth, and compassion. These three, wisdom, movement, and strong company, form a circle that keeps the spirit luminous. Like a lamp, they must all be tended. Wisdom without movement becomes rigid. Movement without wisdom becomes frantic. Company without either becomes noisy and draining. But together, they form the rhythm of a peaceful life. You are not meant to age in silence and solitude unless that silence brings insight. You are meant to move with grace, think with clarity, and sit in the company of those who see you not for your age, but for your essence. The Buddha's teachings are clear: surround yourself with the wise, walk mindfully, and let each moment teach you. In this way, your later years do not shrink, you expand into them. As we now arrive at the fifth and final reflection in this journey, how to redefine your purpose and stay engaged with life, let us take a gentle breath and open our hearts to the deeper truth that aging is not an end, but a turning point. A sacred invitation to realign with a purpose that is no longer about doing more, but about being more present, more aware, and more compassionate. The Buddha never taught that life becomes meaningless in later years. In fact, many of his most devoted disciples joined the monastic path when they were already old, having fulfilled worldly roles and realizing that true peace lies not in achievements but in inner clarity. One such story comes from the life of a man named Radha, an elderly Brahmin who approached the Buddha after facing the loss of his family, wealth, and social standing. Feeling abandoned and useless, he came to the monastery not to seek ordination, but to simply ask, "Is there anything left for me to do?" The Buddha, seeing the readiness in Radha's eyes, said, "Better it is to live one day in virtue and meditation than to live 100 years in ignorance." Encouraged, Radha joined the Sangha, and under the Buddha's guidance, he found renewed purpose. Not in grand acts, but in daily mindfulness, silent compassion, and learning to let go. Over time, Radha became known as a monk of quiet strength, proving that even in later life, the spirit can be awakened, and meaning can blossom like a lotus emerging from the mud. This story reminds us that redefining purpose is not about reinventing ourselves in the worldly sense, it is about shedding false layers and returning to what is real and nourishing. As we grow older, many of us feel as if our usefulness has faded, that we are no longer needed in the same roles, parent, worker, provider, but this is the illusion that keeps the heart closed. The Buddha's path teaches that purpose is never about how others define us. True purpose is found in presence, in how we touch each moment with awareness, and how we serve with whatever we have left to offer. You may no longer lift heavy burdens, but your words can still uplift. You may not run as you once did, but your stillness can radiate peace. Staying engaged with life means allowing yourself to be part of the world even when the world has changed around you. Read, listen, meditate, teach, learn, serve, observe. These are all acts of deep engagement. Even silence, when held with awareness, becomes a form of service to the restless world. Purpose is not one grand destination, it is a quiet return to the present, again and again. And if you ever feel lost, return to the breath. The breath is the doorway to now, and now is where your new purpose begins. Sometimes your purpose is as simple as smiling at a stranger, forgiving someone who never apologized, listening without judging, or sitting under a tree and thanking the earth for holding you. The Buddha taught that everything arises from intention. With our thoughts, we make the world. So set your intention, not to be young again, but to be awake. Not to impress, but to bless. Let your purpose be to grow inward, to radiate warmth, to live simply and wisely, to be a lamp in someone else's darkness. When you embrace this kind of purpose, you will find that life responds. People are drawn to sincerity. The world opens up to those who walk gently. Age no longer becomes a countdown, it becomes a crescendo, a blooming of all the seeds you have planted throughout your life. Let the later chapters of your life be not about fading, but about clarifying what truly matters. You are not done. You are ripening. You are becoming medicine for the world in your own quiet, irreplaceable way. As we gently come to the end of this mindful journey, let us pause together and reflect on the stillness we've created, the space within where wisdom has room to breathe. We've explored the hidden traps of aging and seen that what imprisons us is not time, but the mind's resistance to change. We've uncovered how fading is not inevitable when one lives with attention, compassion, and purpose. We've spoken of how to keep the mind, body, and spirit alive through awareness, how wisdom, movement, and good company keep the heart from closing. And how the redefining of purpose, even in later years, is a beautiful act of liberation, not a resignation. If any part of this message has spoken to your heart today, if even one sentence helped you feel seen, understood, or gently awakened, I invite you to take this conversation one step deeper. Share your thoughts in the comments below. What stage of life are you in? Have you experienced the loneliness, or the freedom, that comes with aging? Do you have your own wisdom, your own story, your own practices that help you find peace of mind and inner balance? Your voice matters, not just to us, but to someone out there who is quietly struggling and might feel less alone because of what you share. Let this be a space of kindness and connection. And if this video offered you even a moment of stillness or a fresh perspective, I humbly ask that you like this video, subscribe to our channel, and share it with someone who may be walking a similar path. That one act of sharing could be the gentle light another person needs. Mindful Pathway Media exists to carry forward the gentle, timeless teachings of the Buddha, not in loud slogans or promises, but in quiet truths, soft wisdom, and compassionate reminders. When you subscribe, you help this sacred message travel farther, reaching people across the world who are seeking peace, healing, and emotional clarity, especially in the later chapters of life. So please, be part of this growing circle of compassion and wisdom. Like, share, and comment, because you are not just a viewer here, you are part of a mindful community, walking the path of awakening together. May you age with grace, live with depth, and walk each day in gentle awareness. Until we meet again on the next mindful path, may you be safe, may you be peaceful, and may you be free from unnecessary suffering.